Good morning and welcome back to the channel. So today we're not going to be in the camper van. We've got a couple of jobs that we need to do in the van. So first job today is replace a hose, this hose here actually. So the hose that comes out the heater matrix and part of the coolant system has been rubbing against the metal bracket that's secured to. So there's a couple of little marks on it. I wasn't very happy with it when I discovered it, so I put a little bit of gaffer tape around it just to sort of make sure it doesn't burst on the journey, the last journey that we did there. And in the meantime I ordered a new hose for it. Now I thought I'm going to need to drain the antifreeze and change this hose over. Now a couple of years ago we had a bit of bother, a wee sort of small leak out the radiator. So I thought I'd shoved that sort of stuff in it, you know, the sort of leak sealant stuff in it, and it's been fine. There's not been any issues with it. But I thought when I drain the water to do the hose, I'm as well changing the radiator. So that's what I've done. I've bought a radiator here. So bought this the other day there from Euro Car Parts. That was 105 quid. And I bought this hose from a company called Coastal Motorhomes down in Ringwood, Hampshire, and that was about 31 quid or something. They're quite good. Coastal Motorhomes, bought a few bits and pieces from them over the years, and the stuff's generally quite good, so quite happy with that because I couldn't get it locally. So I'm going to change this radiator over just because I'm in there and I've drained the antifreeze and I've got new antifreeze here as well. So I've got, well, that's 5 litres. It takes 10.5 litres, so I've got another one there as well. But I thought, whilst I'm in and I've got the radiator off, I'm as well doing another couple of jobs. So I'm going to take the EGR valve out. Now the EGR valve is about a year and a half old roughly. I'm going to take that out and I'm going to clean that out, because what happens is all the crap basically gets blocked up in them, and then the little flap jams, and then it burns out the motor. So just going to take it out and clean it just because it's behind the radiator and it's my best chance of getting into it. And the other job we'll do whilst I'm in there, I'll just take the air intake off as well, and I'll show you that when I do it, because it'll be pretty grotty as well, because again they get choked up with all sorts of crap. So a few jobs to do today, so I'm going to go and swap the cars about, the van about, and get the van into the driveway so I can work on it, and we'll show you what we're doing out there. This is the pipe that I'm planning to replace. It's connected onto the heater matrix, and if you follow this pipe round, what I've done is I've popped a tyre wrap on it and a bit of gaffer tape on it because it's rubbing against this metal bracket, and I've also put a little bit of foam in there as a temporary measure because there was a couple of nicks on that, and my concern was that it would have went right through that pipe and I'd have lost the coolant out the engine, and then would have been in a bit of bother. So this will start to look pretty drastic in a wee minute. Basically all we're going to do here is we're going to take out these, and the whole front it comes off very, very quickly, and we can also take off, there's bolts in there and then there, and that'll take off the slam bar, and very, very quickly you can get access to the front end very, very quickly in these vans. It's brilliant, plenty of access right in the middle there without having to touch the bumpers at each side. So we'll start getting this stripped off. So once that front grill's off, you've got lots more bolts to remove. There's quite a lot of them all the way right round here, so strip all that off next. So as you can see, that strips off the front end of the van quite quickly and quite easily. You can get right in about it. Now you can start to see the condition of this radiator. There's a lot of insects on it and it doesn't look great. Now down here there's a little drain plug to remove the coolant. I think I had a bit of bother the last time I removed that, so this is another reason for changing the radiator. So we'll get that drained, we'll take this slam bar off, we'll drain the coolant and we'll remove this pipe here. Now if you're just doing the EGR valve, you can do it without removing the radiator. Some people, well, generally speaking, I'll take the top slam bar off and just leave it hanging. Some people will pull the radiator slightly forward because you need to take out these bolts anyway, and that generally gives you enough space just to work at it that way from the top. This is a Ford Puma engine, 2.2. It's in the Citroen Relay, the Peugeot Boxer, the Fiat Ducato, the Ford Ranger, Land Rover Defender. So it's quite a common engine. It's a Mark 7 Ford Transit as well, 2.2, 2.4. Remove the bolts to the top of the radiator. 4 bolts in the slam bar. This should just lift off. A bit of work. Stand by. Take that first. And that just comes off. Just leave it like that. Okay, so I've removed the plug and drained the antifreeze out of the system, disconnected the top hose. Down at the bottom there I've also disconnected the hoses from the intercooler, because I'm just going to lift the intercooler outlet because there's 2 screws holding the 2 together. So the next job is to try and get the fan assembly off, and then I can just lift the radiator right out of the car. So that's the old radiator and intercooler off. And that gets you a better look in there. So I've left the fan assembly in the van and it just unclips. That's the hose for the bottom of the intercooler. And then this is your EGR valve here, your air intake, which I'm going to disconnect and clean whilst we're in here. I've actually got a new air filter as well for that, and I've got a new fuel filter which goes up the back there. So, like I say, once you're in here, much more space to work now. So, anybody having starting problems, here's a top tip for you. This is the engine mount. It goes from the engine to the bodywork. So because the vehicle sits on rubber engine mounts, the negative connection can't make a return path to the battery. So that's the original engine mount, earth strap even. It breaks down over time, it corrodes, so I've added that second one in just to make sure there's a proper connection. But I've also got another one up the back somewhere. So see that black wire there? I've connected it on to the outlet in at the back. You can see it. That's just onto the fuel filters housing, and it runs down there somewhere, and I've just taken it onto the engine somewhere. So just make sure you get a good electrical connection between the engine and the vehicle, because that's what the alternator and your starter motor. So there's your alternator there, and the starter motor's down there somewhere, down at the bottom, it's underneath. Just make sure you get enough earth connections for it. So this is the old hose I've just taken out the van. So you can see the way that's been rubbing against the metalwork, and my concern was that it was going to burst the way through. So I've got the new hose, so that looks exactly the same. So we'll go and refit that now. Okay, so this is your EGR valve removal. Disconnect the electrical connection. There's 2 bolts through here, onto the EGR cooler, and there's 2 bolts at the bottom, and then that just slips off, and that's what that looks like. And I'm just going to give that a little clean before I put it back together. The next thing I'm going to do is take off this and take out this sensor here. So you get a map sensor and a MAF sensor. That's your MAF. I've already taken that off. There's never any dirt on that, because that's the clean air side. When we take this off, it'll probably be all gunged up inside, so I'll show you that. And then we'll take off these bolts, and that's your air intake filter, and that'll be choked. I'm pretty sure that'll be choked inside. So I'll let you see that in a minute. So there's that pipe there. You can see it's pretty gunged up. And then if you look in here, all that needs to be cleaned. Then this is your map sensor, and that's gunged up as well. I mean, you can't even see the sensor in that, so that'll be causing all sorts of problems on the engine management system. So we'll take all that off and give it a clean. Okay, nearly there. There's little seals in here, just need to be careful I don't drop and lose them. That's you there now. In here we've got lots of this, so I'm going to clean all that. This is your glow plugs here, so if you ever want to change them, that's the cabling for them. That's how you get into them. I'm not changing the glow plugs on this today because I've done it previously. So my plan now is to clean all this out, clean the plastic sections, and then refit it all. I left these seals to soak overnight in the bucket with a bit of detergent in it, a bit of degreaser. So I did replace these maybe a couple of years back, so these are in good condition. But if you do take yours off, it'd be worthwhile ordering up a pack of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. Just order up 8 of them. Well, I think they may be coming a pack of 8 before you start, because I'm pretty sure this sort of perish and the sort of snap, I'm sure that's what happened to the last ones. So I'm going to keep cleaning these up, and then the next step is to put these back in to the air intake, which is a lot clearer than what it was. It's not perfect, but it's as good as I can get it. So clean all these bits up and start to reassemble it all into the van. This is the map sensor, not the MAF. The MAF goes on the fresh air side. As you can see, it's a Ford part, and it's choked. It's completely choked. There is a little sensor in there, so I need to clean it. I fear to use brake cleaner on it in case I damage it. Maybe just spray some of this in it. I don't know if this is any better. It could end up knacking the sensor here. That's just some degreaser. I just try and pick the dirt out carefully from it. Just need to be super careful here. A little sensor in the bottom of that. It's pretty sure it doesn't like chemicals or all this sooty oil. So if you're ever getting fault codes and it's relating to the map sensor, take it out and just check if that needs a clean before you go start replacing expensive parts. If you do need to replace the parts, buy the genuine parts. This is a Ford part. Buy the genuine parts because the cheap ones on eBay just don't work, guys. So that's my advice. The old radiator there, new radiator's all fitted and everything's all put back together now. So the next job is to refill the coolant, the antifreeze, and then in here, this is the bleed screw for it, and that's the heater matrix through the bulkhead. So I'll top this up with, it takes 10.5 litres of antifreeze to refill it. So top this up and hope for no leaks. All back together now. No coolant leaks, everything's looking good. Good morning. So a bit of an update with this van. A week has now passed since you've seen the footage of me putting it all back together again, and I topped it up with antifreeze. Unfortunately, I managed to break the bleed screw once I'd refilled it with antifreeze. I'd unscrewed the little bleed screw, let some of the air out the system, tightened it back up with my fingers, little plastic thing, and I went to bleed it again and it just fell off my hand. I was like, nightmare. So there is a conversion kit on eBay you can get, but there was none left, so I bought a new hose with the bleed screw attached to it, and this one is metal. The previous one was plastic, so it was just dribbling out like a tiny little amount. I shoved a bit of something in it, a bit of glue, some sort of glue in it, Araldite or something in it, just to stop it leaking out whilst I moved the van from the driveway down to where I park it. So I ordered this on, I think this came on, I think this was off eBay, I can't remember where I got this. Anyway, it got delivered during the week, so I now need to strip the whole front of the van back off again, drain the brand new antifreeze and change this part over. And I've got another job. One of the rubber mountings was missing for the radiator, I noticed, so I just picked up one of them. So I'll go out here and get these jobs done as best I can, because Scottish Power have also been digging up the street where we live, and there's roadworks and I can't get the van parked very well. I can't get the van in and out the driveway because they've replaced a cable, a fault in the cable. So we're waiting for the contractors to come back and repair the hole and repair the street. So I'll see if I can get working on it, or if they turn up and want the van moved. This will be interesting. Hopefully it'll all go smoother. So this is the issue I was having with the bleed screw. It just snapped out of there, so I just filled it with a bit of glue temporarily. So it's quite a short section of pipe, so I just need to disconnect that and stick the new one in. Okay, so the next job is the fuel filter, which is right there. So you need to remove this pipe at the top, and then this turns. It might be quite tight. If it's too tight to turn by hand, you can undo the 2 bolts at the back and take the pipes off, and you can take it in a shed or a garage, and you can unscrew it a bit easier when it's on the bench. But thankfully this one's not too tight, because you don't want them over tight, and I think it only goes on to something like 6 Newton meters or something from memory. So we'll start stripping this out. I'm struggling for space here, so what I've done is I'm taking this air scoop out. There's 2 nuts on the inside once the fly screen's away. There's 2 nuts on the outside there, usually a bit more rusty. And just take this out my way. Then it should give me a bit more sort of space to work. So much more space to work now that the air scoop's out of the way, so I just need to undo this, and the top will come off. But before I do that, I need to remember how this fuel line comes off. I need to put the camera down so I've got 2 hands, but I think it pulls one direction or the other. I'll figure it out in a minute. Okay, so I got it off. That's it off. I just pulled that collar back the way, and then and pulled the pipe out, and it came off. So the new rubber O-ring goes on there, and that just pops back into the housing, which is full of diesel. Make sure you wear gloves, because it's a bit nasty. And then the top ring goes back on. This is something you need to do pretty regular, especially if you buy your fuel from Morrison's, because it's shite and it chokes up the injectors, and you will regret using Morrison's fuel, because there's nothing but bother in the past. Every other supermarket's fine. I don't know what the difference is. So I'm just putting that on hand tight, and then this just pops back in, and that should be it. And then just check for leaks. To prime this, you just turn the keys in ignition for about 10 seconds and it fills it back up again. You don't have to worry about priming it really, it just sort of self-primes itself. Okay, so that's the air filter all back on. I've cleaned it, checked for leaks, no issues, and the air scoop is back on. So just the front end to put back on now, and we're good to go.